Recently, I decided to take a look at the Aufero Laser 1. They actually sent this to me a while ago. I often get sent products I decline way more than I receive, but as a YouTuber, I often get sent some products, and I thought this would be really interesting. However, it ended up sitting on my shelf for a while because I didn't really know what to do with it. My son and I had recently gotten into 3D printing at the time, and we'd kind of dove into that world a little bit, learning and understanding more about 3D printing and everything that's involved there. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do with this yet. I knew that I could print on little pieces of wood and stuff like that because essentially this is like a laser printer, but it's for engraving and etching. I just didn't know anything about this. It's not my wheelhouse. Well, out of a desire to give it a try and see if this product is any good, I got it out and we installed some software and started looking at testing it out. I have to say, it was extremely easy to use and a bit of fun. So let me talk first about the Aufero Laser 1. This has been out for a little while. It has 180 millimeter by 180 millimeter print area. What's different about this from, say, 3D printing, if you have a familiarity with 3D printing, is that a 3D printer has a print bed and it's pretty much outlined. You know the space that you have. With this, you have to do a little bit of aligning because this did not come with the plate. There's a plate that you can get that this slides into that then has a print bed. And that's something that I think is pretty helpful because then it helps you align things. What it does come with is some small boards that you can test print on. And you can see that I kind of went down the rabbit hole of test printing this file that I found online and missed a few times on this particular one. There are a couple of others that did well, but my kids ended up taking them to school, so I don't have them anymore. But it was really fun. What's different about this is that where 3D printing is taking a filament and melting it and forming it into something, this essentially is burning using lasers. So I was able to do a little bit of testing and kind of figure out what to do with this, putting it in a lower power mode and actually just letting it burn onto cardboard. I thought that that was an easy way, a non-destructive way, where I'm not wasting a whole bunch of pieces of wood to kind of get my feet wet with this. So I'm predominantly a Mac user, so I installed the Lightburn software and was surprised at how easy it was to get this configured and set up. What was even more surprising to me is how easy it was to load Adobe Illustrator vector files or pretty much any type of vector file into Lightburn and actually just print it out using the Laser 1. It was so easy that I thought, man, okay, maybe there's something to this. How could I be using this to personalize things or create something that's just unique and different? And so we went down the rabbit hole of trying way too intricate of designs that just didn't work out to designs that were very simple, like this Boba Fett helmet. And so I just thought it was neat that you could actually burn this into wood and it creates a really nice looking design. Of course, I wish that I had the ones here that I printed well because those looked even better. Of course, we destroyed a lot of cardboard along the way testing. So let's talk a little bit about the laser engraver, and then we'll talk about the different things that you can do with it. So first of all, like I said, it has 180 by 180 millimeter print area. It's a very simple device, very lightweight, and it's carriage driven, so it goes from side to side and front to back. And surprisingly, it is pretty darn fast. Of course, the faster you go, the less time that it has to burn into whatever material. And so it takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out what laser power you should set at and also how fast you should print. And it does have an engraving speed anywhere from 0 to 5,000 millimeters per minute, which I think is pretty quick and definitely faster than you're ever going to need to go based on the amount of power this puts out and the amount of time it takes to consistently burn a line into whatever media it is that you're printing on. There's a lot of different types of media that you can use, such as food, MDF, paperboard, black acrylic, leather, stainless steel, powder-coated metal, stone, etc. There's all sorts of things that you can engrave into, and then as far as cutting, you can cut plywood, pine board, paperboard, black acrylic, leather, felt cloth, and all sorts of other types of materials with this device. Now, we didn't really spend enough time with it to get into cutting and actually maybe cutting out shapes or something into the wood instead. It has enough power for that. But when you are cutting at that rate and using that amount of power, it's going to emit some smoke, and so it's best to use this in a highly ventilated area. We were using it on our kitchen table near a window, and so I had a fan set up so that we could blow whatever little bit of smoke that this was producing out the window. Of course, using a laser, and it was burning burning into the cardboard, it was producing a little bit of smoke. And then, of course, when we were burning into the wood and I turned the power up a bit more, it was producing a bit of smoke as well. Whereas larger devices like this are going to come in an enclosure and have an exhaust that you can run out the window, or you can run through the wall or somewhere, so that all of the smoke that's generated would exit the building. This does not have that. So if you use this indoors, it needs to be done in a highly ventilated area so that you don't end up smoking out your room. So I highly recommend with a device like this to use it in your garage or something like that, especially if you're going to be using it at higher powers. So one of the things that my son has really gotten into with his 3D printer is printing out parts that work and interconnect together. So this device is going to be useful as my son and I continue to kind of level up what we're doing, having fun, creating, trying different things, especially as he's learning even more than I know and understand these days. Having a device like this is going to allow him to even bring two worlds together, where he could be creating and cutting different parts and shapes out of wood and different materials and working that together with the 3D printed materials that he's also designing and building. So who is this for? Well, this is definitely for the beginner hobbyist. This is a very entry-level device that helps you get into laser cutting, laser printing, laser etching, whatever you want to call it. So there are a couple things to know that'll just kind of help you get started a little bit faster with this device. Essentially, the home point is over in this corner. And so when I was initially kind of setting things up and testing out the software, I didn't hit the home button in the software to just see it go home. I kind of was guessing at where the position was. Obviously, with the software, if you hit the home button, it's going to go home to the home position, which is over in this corner. So one of the things that you're going to need to adjust is the height of the laser. Now, I've seen a lot of people adjust this differently, and I think it does vary depending on the material that you're using and whether you are looking to etch it or cut straight through it. As you try different materials with a device like this, you're definitely going to want to explore and remain as safe as possible using the included glasses that they provided, as well as making sure that you are a safe distance away from it. Because if you're cutting, basic things like wood, cardboard, stuff like that, the worst thing that can happen is that it catches on fire, which I didn't have any experiences there because we didn't have the power turned up too high. However, if you're cutting on metal or anything else like that, you might have little sparks and different things, so you want to be prepared for that. Make sure that you are on a surface that is not going to be affected by any sort of heat, especially if you set the settings way too high and happen to burn through whatever it is that you're cutting. You don't want to be on a wood tabletop that's then going to get burned as well. You want to have something like a sheet of metal underneath it. It does come with a little metal sheet that you can put underneath these small little boards that would help prevent it from going all the way through should you cut with a little too high of a power setting. But it was definitely challenging for me to have that happen. I think in order for this to cut through something, you're going to have it set to a really high power setting, and it's also going to have to be cutting at a pretty slow rate. So adjusting the height is as simple as adjusting this knob here. You simply just loosen it, and then this slides up and down on this carriage, and so we'll just go ahead and lock that back down. You can see here that there's also a guard that is on the laser here that provides a little bit of protection as well. Other than that, this device is really simple, really basic. What really is more complex is using the Lightburn software. So our very first use of this was simply opening up the Lightburn software. We had found this particular file of this Boba Fett helmet on Google. It was a free vector file that I was able to download, and I simply imported it into Lightburn, and then it automatically gave me settings. Obviously, the software did not know what I was going to cut on, so the first pass was on a piece of cardboard, and that worked okay. We needed to increase the power a little bit. Thankfully, it does start out moving the head pretty fast. It was at like the setting of 6,000. I think it was at 20% power, which was definitely too fast. On the cardboard, we just saw a very faint outline. And so I slowed it down to 3,000, leaving it at the same power. And that's when we started to see a bit more of a result. Now, ultimately, in order to get it to print like what you're seeing here, with this amount of depth, we needed to go down to about 1,000 and up to 30% on the power. And then with one pass, we were able to get this outside line, and it would go back and do a second pass, and that's where we got the nice darker inside lines. And so that, to me, looks really good. I think that looked a lot better than our initial first prints. As we tuned that in a little bit, practicing and kind of figuring out what settings to go with, we were able to get much more consistent burns and have things look a lot better. So if you're looking to get into the world of laser etching, laser burning, laser cutting, this is definitely a great entry-level device that you can use to get started, print and cut on small things, and get to know this world. I think that they produced a fantastic little device that's easy to use, doesn't take up much space, easy to store, and has definitely been a great entry-level product for us to get interested in this world. And being that we're on a Mac, we are going to need the Lightburn software, and so I'm purchasing a code after the trial completes. We have a 30-day trial of the Lightburn software, and then the Lightburn software, which comes with the G-code license key, is $60 here in the US, and that is a full license that will allow us to use this and also any future devices that we upgrade to, because Lightburn is not a software that's specific to this individual device. Of course, if you're on a PC, there is Laser GRBL, which is a free download that you can use to control this, but I have to say I really enjoyed Lightburn so far, and it's also available for Windows and Linux. So I definitely recommend giving the Lightburn trial a go just so that you can test it out. I think that it's a much more robust software and a better tool for laser cutting, laser burning, laser etching, what have you. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'm definitely a beginner at this, so is my son. We are very entry level and are just sharing our experiences with this product so far. Definitely not a professional, and probably missed things that would be valuable to somebody who really knows what they're doing. But as a newbie, somebody who is a first timer at this, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the product that they put out, especially something like this, which you can get for under $200. Check out the links in the description below. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you back in another one soon. Take care.